Hello, everyone. I'm Eric C. Jackson. Thank you for listening to another podcast from the studio. We are sticking with the black background because I tried the white and too wrinkly. I'm probably gonna have to have like a heavy canvas backdrop. So yeah, we're sticking with this one right back here. All right. I wrestled with what I was gonna talk about today, and I'm gonna combine it with the business aspect of what I was gonna go over. I've been doing a lot of things in terms of trying to solidify the brand, and I'm digging more into marketing as I've talked about last time. But I ended up getting into a conversation this morning with a coworker, and her and her husband, they're out of state, but we started talking about school, which is high school, or elementary, high school, growing up. She was telling me how her husband was getting picked on because of his last name. Now, backstory: I'm really picky about pronunciation, and so I think that we should be able to, when we meet people, pronounce their names correctly, their native names, first name, last name. So a lot of times when I meet someone who's from overseas, they won't go by their normal name. They'll have like an English name. And so if we meet, I make a point of pronouncing your actual your native name that you're used to being called from your your country, your origin country. So today I asked one of my coworkers how to pronounce her last name because I was having a few guesses, and she pronounced it because we were chatting over the Teams on Microsoft. And she said, I don't know, she started going into how her husband was getting picked at, elementary school, on about how you actually pronounce his last name, which led me to go off on a tangent, to be honest, about my last name, which is Jackson, of course. And I started talking about, what kids would say, that type of thing. And then I just started going on to more things about why I hated school. So, hold on. I got my journal. So I decided to write down a few things about my response to her. Wow. And it also made me think about my brand, and how I'm choosing to market myself and present myself to other potential partners, deciding on who I want to collaborate with. And the main thing that came to mind is there has to be a certain standard to what I do. Um, and then it made me ask why I had this particular standard. And as I sat at work on my day job and I started thinking about these things, like, why do I have this particular standard? Why am I so picky about certain things? Like, why am I so picky about certain things? And if you look at my logo, my logo is just, I really like it. It's very contemporary. I like the style of it. I like just the feel of it. And the people that I work with, companies that I work with, I want them to kind of fall within that same style. Um, so as I was talking with someone yesterday also about marketing through them, they were giving me their marketing rates, and I looked at their audience size. And I was asking myself, is this the type of audience that I want to promote to? Right? Because they did have a large audience, but I just felt like stylistically my brand didn't fit with that particular audience. And so I told them, okay, the promotion rates were fine. It was just audience type, their likes, it just still felt like it was outside of my niche. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep looking, right? And again, that made me think about what I talked about with my coworker today. So my last name, Jackson, I got jokes as well pertaining to Michael Jackson, of course, and all the jokes associated with him. So I would say elementary school, especially middle school, really going into high school. Just a lot of jokes. A lot of jokes. And then it went into me thinking about all the things I got picked on, why I was getting picked on. Another thing I wrote down is my glasses, especially when I was in elementary school. I had these large Coke bottle glasses, and kids were like, they're really thick, they're really big, those Steve Urkel type glasses. So I got called that name. I got called a few other names. Um, got called a bunch of names. And then the other thing is my weight. Now, some kids would say I was too skinny. I would say I'm slim, especially back then I was really slim. But they would say I was too skinny, right? So what does all this go towards? It's really presentation. How do you present yourself? And now that I have a studio, I have a brand and I'm trying to build a brand. When people look at my logo, what do you see? Right? So back then, people looked at my last name. They started throwing jokes at me about that. They looked at my glasses. They started throwing jokes about that. They looked at my weight. They started throwing jokes about that. And so it got ingrained into my mind that when I go out and I present myself or I present the studio, I want positive reactions, right? But it didn't end there. My tangent with my coworker continued. What else did I add? Then it went into the meaning of race, right? Because her and her husband, I believe her and her husband are Filipino, right? So she started talking about where she grew up in the Philippines. She didn't really get bullied and, kind of picked apart as far as appearance and how she looked or presented herself, right? But then she was talking about her husband, and I guess her husband then on that end was born here in the States. He would tell her stories about how he was picked on, right? Again, by his last name. So it led me to think about, okay, what else did I get picked on for? And so that got me into talking about race. So I told her that my experience here in the United States, because I'm black, obviously, but if you don't talk like, dress like, eat like, or listen to the same type of music as I don't want to say a stereotypical black person, but it's like most black people. If you don't talk like them, dress like them, eat the same types of food they eat, listen to the same types of music, then you are labeled, I don't want to say outcast, but it's like you're trying to be something that you're not. And this the thing that was implied is that I'm trying to be white, especially going into middle school, and I would say freshman, sophomore year, high school. You're trying to be white because they look at your clothes, they listen to how you talk, they look at the foods you eat. Like my favorite food is Italian, so it's like I love Italian food. The type of music I listened to was not the same, a lot of times. And it's not like I don't like R&B, rap, but favorite music and what I listen to the most, it's not the same. So yeah, that was a label that I ended up getting. And then on top of that is, yes, my tangent continued. I was trying to be a Christian. And so And along with that, I was trying to fit in with everyone else. So obviously my mom would, I don't want to say argue, there was no arguments, but we would have disagreements. My mom wouldn't let me go certain places. She wouldn't let me hang out with certain people. I couldn't say certain things, so I had to watch my language. And I was thinking, Mom, everyone else is doing this, everyone else is going here, everyone else is saying that, and I had all of these boundaries, right? And so then that put me in a position where I just felt really awkward. And I did at that point felt like an outcast, right? And then the more that I tried to fit in, the more I didn't fit in. The more I tried to fit in, the more I didn't fit in. So, and it was crazy because at that young age, especially going into like 15, 16 years old, I'm like, okay, if God really does exist, he's punishing me for something that I was doing, that I had done wrong, that I was doing wrong, that I would do wrong in the future. Like I was getting punished for something, obviously. But anyway, so there was that. And then as I got into my early 20s, it turned into politics, to where I was supposed to be team blue, Democrat, but then I was really team red, Republican. But then got into my mid 20s to early 30s. I started moving away from team red, and till I got to where I'm at today on team purple, which is independent. And is it an independent party? I don't know. But anyway, team purple. So having conversations with the Black community, being a Republican is really bad. And then team purple, where you don't agree with the Democratic Party all the time. It just becomes another separator. You get into more arguments, and again, you get kind of pushed to the side, or you become an outcast or a traitor or something like that, right? So again, I go back to my presentation, my logo, and this has been tweaked over the years, but I've settled on this for at least like the past 5 years. It's been this way, to where it's like, this is who I am. I like who I am. And if we disagree and we can't get along, I'm going to continue to be who I am, but I'm not going to hate you. There's not going to be any hatred, right, between us. And so I realized, and I'm kind of realizing just now, that my logo became a symbol for me to embrace who I am. And then as I started working with people, and as I've said on previous podcasts, especially when I was in Las Vegas, I had to separate myself, my business, from certain opportunities, because there are certain things I still don't do, certain places I still don't go, certain photographs I still don't capture, certain stories I still won't write. So I have to be comfortable with myself, with who I am. And I did feel like I needed a symbol, to look at and to remind me that this is who I am. I like who I am. There's nothing wrong with me. God's not punishing me for anything, right? I'm okay, right? And if I don't fit in with a certain group or a certain crowd or a certain community, that's fine too. It doesn't make me weird or a traitor or anything else. So yeah, I realize that I'm really comfortable with who I am and where I'm at in my life right now. And like I said, when I was younger and trying to fit into every niche, fit into every group, follow wherever people were going, um, I don't have to do that anymore. And I don't do that anymore. And I'm comfortable with that. I don't feel bad about it anymore. I don't feel like an outcast anymore because of it. Um, I will say honestly, it does become isolating, like because you shrink your network by quite a bit depending on what industry you're in. But I feel fine. I guess the only thing that I've had to do, also, which goes back to my brand, was I've had to create my own road because as I've gotten into conversations and tried to build collaborations, like for example, I'll come up with a story, a screenplay, and I'll say, okay, with certain aspects of the story, I'm not an expert. So I would try to work with other people who are experts in that particular subject and say, okay, I have a story idea. I'm not an expert in this particular category, whether it's technology or science, whatever. And I'm like, let's work together on this so that we can get the story out. It never worked because even if I was trying to work with a fellow Christian, it it's odd. We don't see things the same way, you know. And even with Christianity, I learned that you have liberal Christians, you have conservative Christians, you have ultra conservative Christians, and then you have those Christians who are just kind of like, it's too much. It's too much. And then that's not to mention the people who aren't Christians at all. We don't have the same beliefs about how the world began and all this other type stuff. Um, anyway, that's just going to say that's why I've done all these stories and worked on photography projects mainly by myself. And then I would pitch them to publishers and editors, etc. And either they get picked up and then, or they don't. Galleries, etc. So it becomes isolating because I, it just depends on the subject matter, right? And I take a very nuanced approach to everything. So it's like voting, for example. I just don't go to the ballot, vote everything Democrat, vote everything Republican just because I'm on a particular team. I'm kind of weighing everything. Sometimes I like Team Blue, what their idea is. Sometimes I like Team Red, what their idea is. And if you're jumping back and forth from one from one side to the other, people just kind of look at you like you don't belong with us, right? So I started creating collaborations and partnerships with people who didn't mind going back and forth depending on what the issue is, or what the project is, right? So that's becoming my network of people that I work with. And obviously there's a bunch who aren't Christians, but they'll look at my idea and they'll say, we like that. This is where we can find common ground. We don't agree on this. We don't agree on that. But let's just stick here on the project and get this out, right? And that's That's what I've done. And I guess the biggest thing, especially with Christianity, is like you can't come into business relationships or collaborations or partnerships trying to convert someone, right? You just stay on the stay on the project. Just focus on the project. This is what we're going to do, right? And get it done. Much easier with photography than it is with writing, but it's definitely possible. And that's why I alluded to on the last episode is that I've had to become, and I've always wanted to be well rounded as far as the genres that I write in, because I want to see what I'm really good at, And like I said last episode, one of my best, or I guess most well received stories is fantasy romance, and that shocked me. Um, but yeah, and so I just try different things and introduce myself to different people. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, there's no name calling, there's no debates, there's no arguments. Just say, okay. And you go on to the next door. You try the next door, the next door. So I just thought that was interesting. But I kind of felt bad about my coworker, going back to our conversation earlier this afternoon, is that I don't share a bunch of personal stuff like that at work. But I just, memories got triggered and everything. It was just like, they said this. And I ended off with, I hated school. Like, that's why I hated school. Hated it. And that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because now, like, I had to get into my 30s before I realized that I love to learn new things. And as I alluded to and talked about a little bit the last episode, is that if I'm not learning new things while I'm at work, I get bored. And even though I've been photographing since 2012, right? I've been writing, like officially writing since 2001. So I still don't get bored, because even though I've been writing and capturing photographs for so long, I never really know what I'm going to get. I have a story idea, or I have an idea for a photography project. I'll have an idea, but you don't know what you're going to get until you actually start writing. And then all of a sudden you find out that something doesn't work, or something's completely off. And then sometimes you have to scrap the whole thing. Sometimes you have to scrap part of the story. It's fluid, right? So it's like, the general direction that you're going, but you don't know how a project is going to turn out. And then on top of that, you don't know how the project is going to be received. And then when I have a photography project, I have an idea, and then more times than not, 15 minutes into capturing, taking the photographs, I'm like, okay, the lighting doesn't work. The composition doesn't work. This doesn't look as good as I was hoping in my mind, even though I captured something the way I thought. So then I started experimenting. And in the writing, it's the same thing. You just start experimenting. And then you start going down a rabbit hole. And then you discover wherever it is you end up. So honestly, you let the photograph or the story dictate where you go. If the photography idea in my mind isn't working, what does work? Right? You change the lighting, you change the composition, maybe you change which subject that you photograph. You change it, and the photograph really dictates the direction you go. And it's the same thing with storytelling, right? You really can't make the story go in a certain direction because you want to say this thing, you want to give this message. If the character's journey isn't going in that direction, just follow wherever the character is going. The character is gonna reveal itself little bit by little bit, right? Same thing with photography. Just go where it's taking you, right? If you try to keep your thumb on the scale, as they say, you're gonna mess it up. The message is gonna seem contrived, and people are gonna say, "Well, you just wanted to say this thing," and there's gonna be a bunch of pushback, right? So sometimes that requires you to just scrap the whole thing and say, okay, I'm going to work on a project that's just not this, or it's not going to look a certain way, right? Stylistically, whatever. So yeah, you let the subject go wherever it's going. And so again, that goes back to discovery. And that's never boring. It's never boring because it's like, where is this going to take me? Is always my question, because I have a thought in mind, a concept, idea, but it's like, where is this going to go? I don't know. I don't know. And that's why I don't really share my concepts with a lot of people, because where it starts and where I end up isn't always where I thought I was going. So yeah, I just start somewhere, and sometimes I'll share like behind the scenes footage or like little blurbs from the story, but I just try to start something and do my best to finish it. Um, yeah, but that's my whole monologue, I guess, of what was on my mind. But yeah, it's crazy because I'm so conscious of what people say, or at least I was, about me, like what people say about me, that especially in my late 20s, I would turn down opportunities to be in front of a bunch of strangers, like turn down opportunities to be in front of a bunch of strangers. So I turned 46 a few months ago in June, and it's different, mainly because of time. And I feel like I don't have time to be really afraid anymore. Because I'm getting older, obviously. So it's like, you know what? I want to do some things before I'm not here anymore. So yeah, I have to get outside, well outside of my comfort zone, and see what happens. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to transition to the second part of what I wanted to say, which is, what have I been doing since last week? All right. Let's see if I can pull up everything. That does sound bad. Like I recognize that I really set up my brand to a point where no one can joke about it or like make fun of it. I had in my mind all this time that I'm going to create the brand in such a way that no one is going to pick at it because of maybe it's like conceived poorly, presented poorly, that sort of thing. So, but that's why it takes me so long at times to complete projects or certain tasks on a website, because I'm so conscious about how everything looks, which is important, obviously, because I'm marketing to high profile clientele. They're going to look at how everything looks on the website, and if it looks like really bad, then they're not going to take me seriously. So, But at the same time, it's like I want to be very comfortable in my own skin, and just comfortable with who I am, right? And again, when I look at the logo, it's like, yes, that's totally me as a human being, as a person. So yeah, that just who you are bleeds into your career, your profession, what you do. So if you as an individual, like personally, if you are a wreck and your confidence is not great, it's not at a healthy level, you're gonna definitely struggle. And one thing I talk about in the book, is if you are, well, okay, how did I put it? If you believe in God and you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to get very far with your goals, right? Because obviously I believe believing in God is great, but I didn't believe in myself for so long that my career really didn't take off the way that I needed to. Because I was very, again, conscious about what people say about me. But yeah. So going to, let me see if I can blow this up. The bottom of the page here, there's actually a shipping policy, return policy, the cookies policy. I think I'm missing one more on here. But yeah, these are all the details. As far as from ordering the prints, how long they take to produce, like how long they'll be in production, packaging, taxes, it goes into customs for international orders, that sort of thing. That's all important. And then we have the return policy, which I had to do a lot of digging and research for this because on my Shopify store, all of it was automatically generated, all the policy stuff. And I totally forgot to copy all that information over. So I had to go back over and rewrite out this stuff. And then there's something with cookies, which is from the web host. So this is their text for this. And I feel like I'm missing one more. Policy page. I don't think I'm going to need terms and conditions. I'm thinking about a frequently asked questions page. And I believe that's it. Okay. So as far as selections go, I changed the name to Lightbox up here. So all of your favorites can go into a Lightbox. You will log in to your account if you want to create an account. You will log in and you would be able to come to a print. We'll go emulate. And I added I changed the text to add to Lightbox instead of selection. Yeah, so instead of selection, there's add to Lightbox. And then I changed the add to cart to product selection because when you click this button, you don't automatically go to your cart. You go to the product selection page. Let me pull that up. Yeah. So it's actually not a cart. It's just going to the selection of products that are available, which are quite a few. It's like 14 different products. So that's where you go. So I feel like that needs to be properly worded. And let's see if I remember anything else. Oh, and I did add a header. Very thin text because I ran through the where is it? Google Business, Is it Google Business or is it the, hold on. Gosh, I can't remember where I put it now. It's actually Google Merchant is what I used. And I can't find it. Oh, here it is. Studio SEO. So yes, I organize my bookmarks just because of this, because I can't find certain things when I need them. So I spent part of the weekend doing that, organizing my bookmarks, and then I also created a Bing channel for the website. I think that was on Saturday I did that. So now I have to create products to list on Google or send them off to Google to get approval. So it will be listed on Google search and their search engine. As far as the Google profile, it is verified. It's been verified for quite some time now, but I really haven't paid any attention to it much of this year. So I went ahead and I updated some of the information that was outdated, and I also updated some of the products in the product section. And then I added a category for creative writing, so that there's the book there. So people can click on it, and the visit site will take them directly to the Amazon page. So there's that. And then the other thing that I'm doing is I'm adding this section where you see the QR code. This is the post section. You can see where it says add update, and I can actually post. So whatever I'm posting on my social media channels, I will also post on this section of Google, and from what I can tell, it's bringing in more attention, because the search engine works like the more that you update your profile, the more that the search engine thinks that this is recent, or the profile is active. But if you leave it static, or if you leave your website static, and you never update any information or have any updated information on your website, then you're gonna drop on it as far as rankings and the search engines. You'll drop in rankings. So yeah, I usually check the search engine on Google, on Bing, just to see where I'm at when you do a search on me. So yeah, all of my information here comes up. And as I've said before, my name is very common, like ridiculously common. There are so many Eric C. Jacksons in the world. It surprises me. It does. I think it's kind of ridiculous. Even on my whole name, Eric Christopher Jackson, there's quite a few. So if you Google my name, oh my goodness, it's crazy. But anyway, it's funny because my name, my mom was gonna swap my names. She told me one time she was gonna name me Christopher, but we already had a Christopher in our family, so she just pushed it to my middle name and named me Eric. She also told me she was gonna name me Philip instead of Eric, and I'm like, Mom, no. I don't look like a Philip at all. But yeah, my name is common. If you're just starting out your business and you want something that's very unique, or if you're writing a book and you still don't know what the title of the book is going to be yet, do a search on your potential book titles that you're thinking about. Because I do know that if you sign on with a major publication, they're going to do the same thing. They don't want you to have a similar book title than another book, especially one that's already made especially one that's already well known. So yeah, just do searches and see what comes up. Because if it's a book that you see a bunch of names, like 10, 15 books with the same or similar name, yes, change it up. Change it up to something. Because people will get confused, like confuse you with someone else, and that's bad. All right. And then sticking with the verification subject, I verified my personal LinkedIn page, which didn't take too long, but it's kind of creepy because you have to give them your some personal information. Not a bunch, but it's still creepy. And I also have, well, it helps because there are so many bots, which I alluded to on the previous episode. There's so many bots online, and now you have AI to where they're just generating images and videos of people who are well known or some not so well known, and they're creating pages and profiles for them, and they're asking for people's information with those fake profiles. It's just crazy. Anyway, so that's why you see a lot of sites giving you the option to verify that you're actually a real person. And I think as AI continues to get integrated into websites, software, search engines, pretty much everything, you're going to have to verify that you're a real person for sure, because it's just going to get harder. Some of the stuff, especially what I've seen on LinkedIn, where they had Keanu Reeves, his younger self, and then 20 years later of what he looks like today. And they're in the same video, like right next to each other, like giving each other hugs or something. And it was tough for me to tell. I was like, this is creepy. So yeah, the verification is going to be really important. It's just, I would say, don't trust like all verification services. Don't just give your information out to companies, especially companies or places you never heard of. That's bad. But again, I think the services, like verification services, needed. Same subject. My verification is under review on Twitter. Again, I've been running into a lot of problems on here as far as getting messages or engagement from accounts that are completely fake or spam, whatever. So yeah, I decided to verify this one, and the little blue check mark is under review still. I think it's going to take 2-3 days for it to get verified, and then there's another ID verification after this, which is already completed. But yeah, I decided to do a verification here and pay the $8 a month because after doing just looking through who's still on X, or what used to be Twitter, people that I want to target are still on here. And let me rephrase what I just said. People who I want to connect with are on X, as far as to have collaborations, partnerships, etc. They're on X. And so having my account verified will help them understand that I'm a real person. And then I think the $8 a month branch of the subscription, you get kickbacks as well. So if you grow your following to a healthy level, you're going to start getting ads mixed into your post and mixed into your comment section. And then when those ads generate sales, you're going to get a percentage of those sales, which means that the $8 a month that you're paying, you can potentially make that back and more, right? I'm not going to go crazy enough to go to the $16 a month tier because I just think that's overdoing it. I actually think the $8 a month thing is overdoing it, but for what I want to do, I'm like, okay, this is fine. There's also the basic level that's at $3 a month, but I'm not quite sure what you get with that. But let me see if I can, yeah. So your check mark is on the way. There's a bunch of other stuff that you can do. Like I say, the ID verification, I finished that already. You have to upgrade to Premium Plus to be able to write articles on X, but I don't want to go that far. I finally figured out or thought about a workaround for the long form or long form content I want to have on here. I'll just post it on an image, right? But yeah, there's some potential here to actually make the monthly fee back and then some. So I'm digging into that more. So essentially it'll be free and a branch of the studio where income or revenue is coming from. So I think that's a good idea. Okay. And those who are readers, I did not forget about you. The Substack page or profile is done in terms of adding the stories that are available. Let me see here. So I did add the few, which is horror fantasy. Yeah, that's what that one is. And then the one I have from 2022, which is Recall. It's basically suspense. I might tweak this to action suspense or drama suspense, but yeah. And then the same thing. There's a little blurb here at the beginning in italics to let you know what the stories are about, and so you'll know if you want to read those or not. But the genres are there. I'm just going to add the year that I wrote the story because some of them feel a little bit dated, but they're fine. I still like them all. Then there's the see all. So there's all my most of my stories there. And it'll say in the subtitle if it's a story or just an article, like this is just poetry collections, talking about that. But if it's a story, it will say short story or a short script. It'll say one of those. Flash fiction is another one, and it'll tell you what the genre is. So it's more clear if you're just scrolling through and you're looking at everything. And what else is there? I also looked at my YouTube channel. Here we go. I did take some videos away to clean up the brand. I don't think there's a way for me to verify this page other than getting like 1,000. I think I have to get to 1,000 subscribers. So I noticed that my last 4 to 5 subscribers came through the YouTube shorts. So what I'm probably gonna do is just schedule shorts throughout the week. Just go Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday, just schedule them out and have them post every morning so that that'll just help me post them consistently, because now I'm posting them like once a week, maybe twice a week. And I feel like I want to speed up the process quite a bit in terms of getting folks' attention through shorts, and I'll see how that goes. And speaking of which, the shorts that I post on here are also going to go on, well, not all of them, but some of them are going to go here. So I'm separating the studio work and the interior design stuff, because on the studio channel, I want everything to be more focused just on the studio. And then on the personal channel, I just, the interior design stuff is still going to go there, the shorts. But that profile is going to direct you to the studio website, right? That's what it's going to do. So both of these channels are going to point you to the same, the main website. It's just a couple of different ways. I'm just separating them because stylistically, what I have in mind for the brand, they have to be separated. On YouTube, because of the way that this is presented, it really doesn't make that much of a difference to me. It really doesn't. And then I think because of how many more views I get on the interior design stuff, I would like to have that go directly to the channel. On the TikTok channel, I'm not on TikTok like that much. I'm on YouTube a lot. So I really want to just focus on this channel with getting as much traffic on here as possible. With TikTok, I can kind of split them up and it'll still do the same thing. But in terms of presentation, I really want this one to be on point with how I want to present the brand. And finally, this is the statistics for my website. Let me see if I can move this over. It's going to move over with me. Let me move my camera out of the way. Okay. So I started the website, or I built it in May, the beginning of May. 6 visitors. And then one day I had 170 visitors. And that's why I went to the Bing search engine, and I started running my website through the search engine optimization test. And the only thing that came up awkward was there was no header on the homepage. And so that's why I added the H1 text there, the header 1 text, so that when the search engine crawls, it can find my website better, which I think it worked, because yesterday, if you look at the search engine visits, look at where Bing is, 248. That's crazy. So that worked. Because I think I made the changes on Saturday, and this stat comes from yesterday, which is the 25th, yeah. So they jumped up like crazy. But anyway, when the search engines can find your website, obviously when people go through their searches, they're searching for something, or that particular whatever you specialize in, then your name is going to rank higher in the results. And so that's what I'm focused on right now. There are other search engines like Google, things like that, but see the Google bot, it's at 24. And so that's why I went to Google Merchant Center, and I have to finish completing my profile for that by adding some products, and then the products are going to link to the website. And it just brings in more traffic, because you're ranked higher in the search engine results. 360 Spider, I don't know what that is. Pinterest, that is going to be, that's going to take a little bit. And then there are search engines that I don't know too much about. Apple bots. Yeah, see how low the Bing numbers were? So I'm like, I know I can do better than that. So yeah, I'm investigating where or who these search engines are, and then creating a profile for the business, inputting all the information, going through the verification process. It's boring, yes, but if you want traffic to come in organically, because your marketing budget is limited, then I'd really say that's the way to go, for sure. That's really the way to go. And then in terms of visitors, I mean, it's the same as before. My last update that I shared with you guys, they're coming from all over the place. The thing that I am focused on is the pages, right? This is from Bulgaria. How many pages did they visit, right? So 1, 2, 3, that's not really a lot, right? So I want people to go through like double digit 10 to 15 pages, right? At the very least. 10 to 15 is, I feel like that's a healthy visit to the website. If it's 1 to 3, even 1 to 5, I feel like someone kind of accidentally stumbled upon the site. They kind of looked around and then they left, right? So I want people to stay. So when you see stuff like this and you see the times over here, someone in Washington, D.C. found the page and they decided to go from one print to the next print, this product to the next product. They started jumping around. And the more that they found, the more that they jumped around. And that started here and then just continued to progress. They looked at stuff. So to me, it's kind of like they found something that they liked. And then they just kept digging until they got to 18, 19. And then it trailed off and then they left, right? So that's the pattern that I'm looking for, to get visitors to not just come to the site, but stay. And that's why when I shared you guys the updates, the design updates that I implemented with the website, that's why I went through those, because it just makes the website look better. It's a better presentation. We got Russia, Virginia, a few from California. Now, Singapore, I have no idea who this is, but they keep coming back. And they have been on the site for weeks now from Singapore. Going through my searches, they'll just click keywords and they're just browsing. So when they first started, I was thinking, okay, this is good. But then now they're continuously coming back. Sometimes they search the same keywords, so they're shopping. So when you see patterns like this, it's usually an agency, a firm, design agency, or a collector who is interested in something. They're renovating a room, building a new room, moving to a room. It can be conference room, bedroom, living room. It can be whatever, right? And they're looking for, what can I put in here, right? And these sorts of renovations or moves take time. And so they're shopping around. So I would say when you put your work out there, you get the keywords correct. Just make sure everything is organized, right? Which is why I spent most of the late spring, early summer just head down, not really on social media a bunch, not really giving a lot of updates. Just get the foundation of the website right. so that when you get potential collectors coming in, there's enough work on the site that collectors will say, okay, this is a legitimate business. And also they can find what they're looking for, right? So there's over 150 prints on here. So it just takes a lot of time to set up. It takes a bunch of time to set up. But when it's set up, everything runs smoothly. And when it runs smoothly, people will continue to come back to your store or your website. And I would definitely say the last quarter of the year, especially for artists, is when you get most of your income, because it's the holidays and people shop. People are looking for gifts, right? So yeah, that's when maybe 50% of the revenue comes in the last quarter of the year, going into the first quarter of next year. But definitely last quarter of the year, a lot of revenue comes in, and that helps you sustain and keep the business going. So yeah, I'm just looking at I'm looking at all this stuff. These stats are from yesterday. Now, unfortunately, this is me. This is totally me, because I was doing a bunch of updates. So yes, I'm recording my own views and searches and whatnot, because I definitely have to test everything and make sure it's working right. Tweaking things, updating things. And like I said, I added a lot of the policies onto the website. A lot of going back and forth with setting up the profiles with search engines. So that was a bunch. The generic United States, I don't know what that means. I mean, obviously it's here in America, but I don't know. This is also good. Tokyo, Japan, 12. They viewed 12 pages. So again, try to get the views from one visit into double digits, and I feel like that's a good quality visitor right there. There's me again. Yeah, so I don't go through this every day anymore because it'll drive me crazy. But it's helpful to see. And this, when you have one city in a row, this is basically the same visitor that, like here, 20 at the time was 2133. That's when they opened the page or came to the website or came to, maybe it can be an individual image, not necessarily the website homepage. And they just kept the page there. And then they slowly went through to other pages. So this is more like one visitor right here from Chicago. And this is me again. This is definitely me at 85, going through 85 pages. Yep, Moscow. This is kind of in the middle. And this might be a returning visitor, because I noticed that as well. Sometimes I'll get quite a few of these where it feels like that's a returning visitor, and they'll make sure you're still there. Lithuania, oh my gosh. I don't want to try to pronounce this name in China, but this is a large city in China. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Because sometimes I look these up to see Like, where in the world are these places? Georgia, that's not Georgia in the United States. Oh, goodness, that's me again, working on stuff. And again, Singapore, one in a row. That's usually the same person, just having the page open. But I would say, as far as the peaks and valleys of the statistics or the visitors per day, I don't look at this very much anymore. Maybe every 3 to 4 days I'll look at it, because again, I would drive myself crazy looking at it too much, being like overly nitpicky about why is this person visiting, or why am I getting this many visitors. It's just get everything ready, get the website ready, set up everything in the search engines, make sure everything looks good, make sure all your links work, right? And wait. You just have to wait and see how people react or respond. And then obviously, if you get questions about, people are like running into a wall in certain places, you can definitely address that, fix that. But ultimately, once everything looks the way that it needs to look, you really can't control how people respond to your work, I will say, if you get a bunch of searches on one particular subject, definitely add more of that subject, right? For sure. Oh, and I finally figured out why this person is selecting shop art. Shop art is a keyword that's on every single image in my inventory, every single photograph. So if you click shop art, like I'll click shop art, 197 results. So that's how many photographs are in my inventory. Every single one has shop art. So what this person is doing is, instead of going to the gallery page and just saying, okay, I want to look at these four and then go back, and then I want to look at these and then go back, right? They're not doing that. It's like I constantly see the shop art keyword, so that when they go to the page, they just see everything, right? And you can just scroll through everything, and it's just a lot faster. I didn't anticipate that's what people would use it for. But yeah, when you click on something, one of the photographs, they have keywords. Let me see if I can, hold on. I have to go to gallery first. There we go. There's all the keywords there. Art for sale is generic. Art print, also generic. Contemporary art, the brand name, home decor, shop art, wall art, all those keywords are generic, right? So what's different is like abstract. Not all of my photographs are abstract, obviously, but that's what they're there for. You would click on that, and there's only 29 results. So for me, when I'm testing my keywords, I have to make sure that everything that's abstract is actually here. And if there's something that's not supposed to be here, or if there's something that's missing, I have to make sure I fix that. For sure. But yeah, that is the wonderful world of everything that goes on in the background. Yep. Wow, 66. And I wish there was a way to expand this, but I can't expand it. I just have to scroll through. So there's that. I don't think there's anything else. Now, going into the last quarter of this year, I'm going to likely add 2 more products, which are both canvas. That takes a while to do. But yeah, I would like to add 2 more products, both of them being canvas. I think there's a canvas stretcher and then there's a canvas roll, where the collector would stretch the canvas themselves, or it can come already stretched on a frame. It can be ordered, either way. And some collectors, actually a lot of collectors like that. So I definitely want to have that added to the store. And like I said, it's just going to take time, because I have to go to the lab, copy over their information into my own Excel spreadsheets, and then come to the website, copy over that information, and then do my calculations to get the pricing right for every tier. And then all that information goes on the back end or behind the scenes on the website so that I can make it live, so everyone else can see it. It's just a huge process. But again, once the process is done, everything is automated. I don't have to do anything else. It's just a setup on the front end is just time consuming. So there's that. What else is there? And as I probably mentioned before, and I guess I'm actually over my time now, is my new work that I haven't started for 2024. I don't have anything new. So what do I want to do end of 2024 going into 2025? I'm taking my inspiration from publications like Elle Decor and looking at looking at advertising that's in these sorts of publications, these magazines. So yeah, how do I approach that? I'm just wondering. That's like a whole nother subject. That's a whole nother thing for another day that I'll probably go into, because the work that I have right now doesn't quite fit. Like a lot of it doesn't quite fit the way that I want it to. Some of it does for sure, especially like 2019, 2020 moving forward. It's a lot closer, but I think I definitely want to try some different stuff, right? And then when it comes to branding, like there's these types of ads. I like them. And then the interiors, I'm taking inspiration from those. So there's more. So I would have to create work, photography that fits this style. So as I mentioned before, it's a balance between fitting in without copying what I see. So I would take themes and say, okay, how would I take this theme? How would I approach it? Just how would I approach it? Ooh, like this. The shower. That is so nice. So I'm finding my style. Like, not everything's my style, but I'm finding my style and say, okay, I want to create something for this. And how would I do that? So I'm gonna have to do some digging. And this is why I don't get bored. Because it's like, how am I gonna do this? And so I have to discover, find, think of new concepts, try new things, go through the whole trial and error process, and see what happens. And then as far as on the writing, the creative writing part of it, like I mentioned before, I actually know what I want to write. Like, there is no question I know what I want to write for the next screenplay. Not a short script or feature length. As I said before, I don't know how it's going to be accepted, and I'm going to have to do a lot of research on who I'm going to send this to. At the top of my list is Angel Studios, because I love their work. I wouldn't say all of it, but like most of it. And I love their cinematography of all their films. So Angel Studios is definitely at the top of the list. But there's some more studios popping up that I've seen that caught my attention. And so it's just having maybe 5 studios to approach, not only about new work, but the work I already have, and see how that goes. And then I'm putting together my plan on what I want to purchase first, because I need 2 other programs in terms of software. And as far as hardware, I need some more stuff. So it's like, what am I going to get first? So I'm debating back and forth. But yeah, ultimately I feel like I'm in a much better spot, a much better place. And it's just continuing to implement the plan of what I'm doing. Yeah, and I think I'm going to spend the rest of this evening scheduling out when the social media posts are going to show up throughout the week. And that'll be that. Because tomorrow, I really don't want to have to worry about that. And then a week from today, next Monday, we're going to have Labor Day. So I want to not have anything to do on that day. I want to have an open 3-day weekend where I'm not really thinking, I have to create something or do something. So yeah, just take a break, get some rest. So thank you guys for tuning in. I did try my best to fix the audio settings, and from what I can tell, I didn't peak as much as I did on the previous episode, so hopefully that'll help. But I'm going to see how this goes. I'm going to see how it goes. So again, thank you for listening. And if you have any thoughts about the episode, as always, leave your comments, feedback in the comment section. And I will see you guys next time. Take care.